Rad Gantos on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Rad Gantos.
Hello, everybody. Yes, no, you're not confused. This is Friday, not Wednesday, which is when we usually do the show. But we really wanted to make sure that we got this show in this month before the end of the year. We had tried to have Jennifer on earlier, and due to some technical difficulties, we were not able to have that show. So I apologize for that, Jennifer, right off the bat.
Problem.
Right? But we really wanted to basically have you on and tell everybody about Impact Giving too. I think it's just a great organization. I kind of posted today, said, tune in because it's an organization that has a twist on giving. So I want to, yeah, you do. So with that being said, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you in the studio. Why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, because you do other things other than just be involved on the board, leading the effort at Impact Giving. But we always want to do this. We want a background story, and then how you may have gotten involved with the organization. At some point, we want to tell people about that, like your own personal journey with the organization, and then obviously the background of the organization. So if you will, the mic is yours.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I am a Orange County native. I've been here in San Diego my whole life, but I am blessed with 3 wonderful children, and I spend most of my day job at Wells Fargo. So I lead the customer and team member experience, the strategy, and the initiatives for the Wells Fargo auto business, and I'm based here in Irvine.
That's awesome. And how long have you been at Wells Fargo?
12 years.
Wow,
That's
definitely a stretch.
You blink and 12 years goes by.
Right.
Yeah. Before that, my background was public accounting and worked a little bit at the Irvine company, but always local to Orange County.
So that's interesting. So I don't know much about how does a banking organization basically set out to deal with customer experience? I mean,
Right.
yeah. Do you have a lot of people that are involved in that? I mean, it sounds very fascinating.
It is. And it actually has really nothing to do with my accounting background,
Yeah.
but I would say finance accounting is a good basis being in the financial services industry. So what I end up doing for Wells Fargo, and specifically the auto lending division, we actually have about 4.2 million customers that we service across the country.
Wow.
So what customer experience piece is I have the experience of the website. When you think about letters that have to go out to customers, emails, mobile messaging, all of the communications goes through my team to make sure that the voice we speak to the customer in whichever channel is consistent. So we have that piece. And then really we do a lot of putting ourselves in the shoes of our customer through journey mapping and just interviews. And that's how we then go to our business leaders to decide what to work on.
So pretty much any touch point within that process or follow-up or end-to-end is going through you guys.
And we'll understand it and be able to understand what pain points there are, and then pull those out and make sure that we work on those and make those better.
That's amazing. So that's interesting because, it's not necessarily accounting. Right,
Yeah,
it's more customer service and sort of more touchy-feely, right?
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
And you've been doing that particular job for 12 years?
No, I've been doing this particular piece. So the same thing we do for the customer, we do for our employees. So we have 5,000 employees just within auto. So we do the same thing. We put ourselves in their shoes and try to understand what's difficult. I've been doing that piece for about
awesome.
2 years. I've always been in strategy and initiative type of positions across the bank in different areas. So every 2 years I can do something different. It's the benefit of such a large company.
Yeah, I'm always very thrilled when I hear about that, where it's not externally focused only, but also internal.
Yes.
So I've been through a lot of with a lot of different experiences where I have not, where especially like you would think even in hospitality, which is a lot of my crossroads happen in that industry, is sometimes you don't see that going the other way, and it's very interesting when you see that missing, because those employees, those guest service people are basically your ambassadors.
They are. They are.
And it's fun. It's funny how sometimes in the outward focus of an organization that gets missed sometimes. So it's really thrilling to hear that.
And it's combined on purpose for that reason.
Yeah.
So what we believe is a positive and consistent, we call our employees team members. So a
Mm-hmm.
positive and consistent team member experience leads to a positive customer experience.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Right.
Now, just because it's something on my radar just the last couple of days, do you have that where it shifts into a different gear or a different way of delivery? For example, during the holidays, where where you're dealing with your team members, but you're basically because it's a stressful time.
Right,
You know, I
right.
mean, it's interesting. I was just reading about that, like where specifically during the holiday season, sometimes there's things that can be done where the focus is specific to the stresses that maybe a team member is dealing with or whatever. So I was just curious, do you guys
Yeah.
do you have that seasonal kind of?
There are a lot of benefits of being such a large
Yeah.
organization. One of them is that there is a lot of resources and investments around employee health. So we have those year round. But some of the things that we do, and that would be about how they might support to get through difficult times if
Yeah.
they need financial budgeting assistance. So we have a lot of those more type of employee wellness programs and health programs that go year round. We do a lot of engagement stuff with employees toward the end of the year around how we give back, how we do food drives.
Right.
We really want to strive for a sense of community across our team members and our various locations across the country. So we do certain activities related to that in various ways.
That's awesome. And people are listening to this is like, what does that got to do with impact giving? But thank you for sharing that because I think it shows a little bit of connectivity. I mean, you're kind of giving to your employees. You're dealing with customer experience. And you're doing it from the from the perspective of being part of a larger organization that has the means and abilities to do that.
Absolutely. So how a lot of this ties into impact giving. So
exactly.
I'll take a step back. So impact giving is a women's collective giving organization. So we're a group of women across Orange County, some South LA County, a little North San Diego County, but we're centrally located in Orange County, and we're pooling together our resources so we could collectively give and make an impact to some organizations.
And if you wouldn't mind, just share with the listeners a little bit of background of that organization. But I think
Sure.
the impetus or the catalyst that caused that to be put together in that exact format is interesting because it came out of a challenge.
Came out of
Or
a
a
challenge.
change or a shift in
Absolutely.
right.
So our organization, Impact Giving, has been around a little over 10 years. We just celebrated our 10th season and going into our 11th season. And how we started, if you remember 11 years ago, was a little bit of a different economy situation.
Absolutely.
And we had our 6 founding partners. We call them partners, right? So we're all partnering together. But these ladies, based in Laguna Beach, is they wanted to be able to still give and support organizations, and they wanted to find a way to still do that even in an economic downturn. So by pooling their funds together and getting a group of over 100 women to pool together money, they were still able to give in a super impactful way. And that was the start over 10 years ago. And you blink 10 years ago, and we're still here getting ready to go into our next decade. We've given over $1.3 million away in these last 3 years. So it's all these women pooling together
Right.
their money, and we give grants to organizations between $10,000 and $40,000.
That's
So the
amazing.
concept is that individually, it's hard to give away $40,000, but as a
Together,
group
the impact.
together, we can give it away. And then that's when we can really make an impact, a difference in a substantial amount of people's lives.
Yeah, that was kind of the twist I was talking about earlier. I really like that, and the fact that it came out of a creative solution, if you will,
Right.
where we want to try to still maximize the impact, and I'm assuming that these ladies were already involved in charitable giving and
Yes.
involved in their community, and they wanted to still maintain the effectiveness of that, but their means maybe at least temporarily, given the economic realities at the time, 10 years, 11 years ago.
Right.
They figured out a creative way of coming together to still be able to feel good about the level of impact that they're putting out, which I think is fascinating, and it's unfortunately I don't see a lot of that happens, but a lot of organizations are challenged.
Right.
You know, especially with the changes in the tax codes and benefits of giving. So it really struck me as being a really cool thing that's happening. Also, the fact that you guys are all partners.
We are.
And that the level of giving is substantial, even on the lower side of it. I mean, $10,000 in the right hands for an organization or a effort like clean water or something like that. It's a really major impact that does. So let's talk a little bit, Jennifer, if you don't mind, about first of all, how did you get involved with impact giving? What's your personal journey with impact giving?
Sure. So I've been involved as we're going into our 11th year.
Yeah.
I've been involved for probably 9 of those years.
Okay.
So 9 years ago, I had a newborn. I had 2 kids that were in elementary school. I had a job where I traveled a lot, and
You got plenty of time on your hands.
Right, exactly. So I always want to be involved and give back, and I was really struggling with. I just didn't have the time to do that, and so my husband's a tax CPA. One of his clients is a partner at Impact Giving, and she was talking with him about how she's able to really be part of something bigger. And it doesn't take a lot of time. So they sit on a grant committee and they're looking at these different grant applications, but it was a manageable amount of time. That's how I started jumping in. So it was about 9 years ago, juggling a handful of different things. And I just, what really hooked me in is the women who are part of this organization. One of the core beliefs of Impact Giving is to be warm, welcoming, and inclusive. And you feel that with all of these women partners. When you're going to any event, when you're having a discussion about an organizational project that you're looking at, you have the value of diversity and perspective. These ladies represent all ages, all walks of life, all economic levels. Right. Some are retired, some are stay-at-home moms, some are professionals, and everything in between. And I really connected with so many women that I wouldn't have normally been in my friend circle. I would have never met, and my life became so blessed by just being around them. And we all have the same goal of just really wanting to help our communities build a better world for our children and families, and it's great to be around like-hearted women like that.
Well, and it sounds to me too, because of the way that you're not an organization that's specifically focused on a particular mission, like
Right.
or I should say particular cause. It's not specifically like, for example, breast cancer. It's not specifically like children with special needs. You guys are actually, there's a diversity in what you support. So I would think that's also an interesting way to go about it. So, for everybody, there may be something that is near and dear. Right. And then you have the benefit of everybody's different perspectives and diverse kind of opinions as a vetting process. So just so we can lay out some sort of structural components to this conversation, how many members do you have?
We have about
currently?
120 partners.
120 partners right now. Okay. And what is is there a set amount of giving that the partners commit to every year?
Sure.
Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have 2 levels that we offer. We have a full partnership, which means that the woman can nominate a nonprofit.
Okay.
So another way that we limit some of the nonprofits that apply for our grants is they have to be supported by a partner.
Somebody internal to the
Somebody
organization
internal
has
to
to
Impact
support.
Giving
Okay.
has to say, I support
I champion this
I
organization.
champion. I'm an advocate. I shepherd them through this
Sure.
process. And so that full partnership is $105 a month or $1,250 a year. And
So it's also equally smart that it is actually a small amount on a monthly basis.
It is.
That really has, again, a cumulative impact.
A cumulative
end of the year.
impact. So what's so wonderful about how it just grows, the pool, if you can visualize this pool of money, every month gets $105 contributed to it. It grows and grows. And then once a year, we're able to give away, usually between 6 and 8 grants, but we gave away $130,000 between all of these organizations. And it's just from that $105 a month.
So it's in the range of about $1,000 a person, basically, commitment. on a yearly basis.
$1,250 a year is what it ends up.
Right. And then you said there were 2 levels. What's
Yeah,
the other
so
level?
the second level is a junior partnership. So for those women that are under 40, they can join at a discounted rate. And so that's $65 a month.
Oh.
That they can end up joining and being a part. They may not be able to sponsor
Right.
a nonprofit,
Right.
but they can be part of our experience, be part of learning more. One of our areas of focus.
Well,
too is
you're
to-
grooming
yeah.
your continuing partner base, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Is to educate, empower, and engage. So there's so many organizations. You mentioned earlier about the
Yeah.
diversity of the organizations we
Yeah.
support. They're also both locally and globally. So you
Oh,
may
that's
have,
interesting.
right, you may have a organization that's focused on providing clean water in Africa.
Yeah.
And then you may have an organization focused on homelessness in Orange County.
What was there any particular reason why? I mean, it's a kind of a little bit of an unusual mix to say local focus on giving and then also an international focus on giving the same under the same umbrella. Was there a reason? Was it just diverse interests again of the original founding members?
It was diverse interests of the
Interesting.
original founding members.
Yeah.
Because what we want to do too is our partner group, we want to make sure that we are giving and reflective of the diversity of our partners. And we have partners who want to support local, and we have partners who want to support global. So we vary that.
So the other thing, and you had mentioned this to me, but I think it's important to share, is the actual structure. You had said that part of the appeal that you had when you basically first found out about it was that it wasn't an arduous involvement.
Right.
You didn't have to show up to board meetings and agendas and all.
Right.
Like it was handled in a little bit of a smarter way, right? So share
Absolutely.
with that, because I think the follow-up question I'm going to have is, given that structure, and because, and I don't want to give it away, but because if it's the way it's set up, does that now appeal to other people beyond just local?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
Yes. So our cycle is an annual cycle. So as I mentioned earlier, when our partners contribute $105 monthly for that partnership, and we that pool grows throughout the year. We're actually going through this right now. We're going through
Yes, you currently
receiving.
have,
We currently have a process we're going through where the grants are the nonprofits are applying for grants. We have about 50 or so that apply for
That's
this year.
impressive.
And then what we do is from our 120 partners, we create these grant committees, we call them. So there are groups between 6 and 8 women partners who review these grant applications. And so they're looking at what is the project the nonprofit wants to apply for. We're also looking at the sustainability of the organization. We look at their board. We look at their financials.
Sure.
We even do site visits.
Sure.
We'll show up and we'll say, tell
well,
us
that's
what
smart.
you're
You're
doing.
giving them money. You want to make sure they're
We
sustainable.
do. So these grant committees of our women partners, they may start with, maybe 8. They have to pick 1 or 2 finalists from each committee. So they work through this from really January to April timeframe. In that time period, the grant committee maybe meets 2 or 3 times. So when 9 years ago, what was important to me is, okay, all I have to do, I have to show up to maybe 2 or 3 meetings for the year, and I could be part of this. And it wasn't that much of a time commitment for me. But I was able to really learn about so many organizations that I have never even heard of. Some that are here in our
Yeah, which is
backyard.
very interesting to be involved.
And so our
Widens
temple
your-
of the education.
Yeah.
Right. And even doing the site visit throughout my years being involved, I've done site visits for certain organizations and I fell in love with them. And then I now support them personally,
course.
even outside of Impact Giving.
Right.
That's what we want to accomplish too, is we just want to really educate our women partners about what's out there and how you discern giving your money away. So we train the women on how to look at financial statements and how to look and evaluate a board. So that happens during that time frame.
So you
through
actually have a
January to April.
ripple effect on people that are involved with partners that are involved with impact giving, that then basically may develop a stronger connection with a particular recipient.
Absolutely.
And now that's the ripple effect where there've been
And that's part of our goal. And
Yeah,
that happens all the
engagement,
time as you fall in love with an organization. And then they become more involved in that organization that they would have never known unless we introduced them
yeah,
to
it's
it.
an introduction for sure.
Right. And then what we're hoping too, by educating these women on just how to look at organizations and how to decide how you'd use your money to support certain programs. So we work through this process, site visits, all those things. And then May, June timeframe, we get our finalists. So it's usually around 16 or so finalists. And us women, as we talked about, we all have diverse backgrounds, perspectives, but we all have one vote. So we get together the finalists and all the women vote on where they want the money to go.
So out of your partnership base right now, how many of those partners are actually, would you say, are junior, and how many of them are really basically making those judgments?
Well, and the junior partners can vote too.
Oh, so they just cannot
Sponsor.
champion and sponsor,
Champion
but
and
they can.
sponsor.
They do actually.
They
vote.
absolutely vote. So every
Got it.
partner has one vote. So that is that it doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter your level of ability to give. That
There's
we
an
are all
equality in
we are all equal in our
the
voting.
voting.
So these finalists, we our partners read up on them. There's summaries. They say, here's the project, and then they put their vote where it matters to them, and then we give our money away. And it's usually between 6 and 8 winners.
Okay, so let's take a minute here, just and let me ask you, relevant to how you like somebody champions, right? Now, are there some guidelines prior to somebody championed that helps them basically figure out whether an organization they're going to bring to the attention of impact giving is fits the bill? What do you use as a sort of a litmus test for organizations? You've been doing it for over a decade and for a whole variety of organizations. So is there a common...
They're all 501c3s. They're all nonprofits.
Right.
So that's really the biggest rule, is it has to be a legitimate nonprofit organization.
But I mean, do you look at something that's been around for a certain period of time?
Anything can be
if I was a
considered
partner,
if
I was a partner, and I was basically, it was my first time, first year being involved, and I'm going to want to try to champion somebody, is there like almost like a cheat sheet of like, what am I looking for that would be valuable enough to bring to the...
Right. So we have just a few technical parameters around being a legitimate
501c3 being one of them.
We recognize that a lot of religious organizations are drivers of giving, and that's okay. We just don't want to make sure that it's limited. So we don't want to sponsor organizations where they can only receive the benefit if they're part of this religious group, because we don't want to discriminate either. Right. So we just want to make sure that there is a legitimate organization, the 501c3, that the benefit is open to all those who are in need, and we're being consistent there. What I would say past maybe some of those black and white parameters is that those projects that really go through and end up getting support for are ones that align to our name, right? They make an impact. They can prove that they show sustainability, that what we're giving will continue to benefit.
Measurable results.
Measurable results. So that's what the grant committees go through, is they have a lot of clear guidelines about here are some of the parameters that the women partners are looking for. And a lot of it is around significant impact, sustainability, longevity, and stability, and a couple of those.
So, and I had a reason why I was asking the question. I was kind of setting the grounds for the follow-up. So that's great if you're an organization that's been around.
Yes.
But what if you're a fledgling organization or a small organization? Have you guys had in the last 10 years of organizations that are maybe just starting, or
Absolutely.
where you were very instrumental? Because like I was saying, a $10,000 donation to an organization just starting that has like
life-changing.
It's huge,
life-changing.
Huge, yeah.
Absolutely. So we have supported some of those that are brand new organizations.
And maybe
as long
share
as
some
they
of
have,
those, Jennifer, too. Like if any come to mind, like specifically, please share them.
We've had, when you think of some of the bigger organizations that we've supported, you think about Free Wheelchair Mission, or you think about Families Forward. We have supported those. They've come to us with specific needs for a program or a project, and it met our parameters. So something as large as that.
So in that particular case, you're not only supporting the organization, you're supporting a particular program or initiative that they have.
Typically, those are what comes through the grant request. It'll say it's a particular educational program for these children, where we're going to support 500 children with, it's a little bit more specific as the ones that we tend to support.
Well, let's just take a minute of that, because I've sat on a few boards over the last 20 years. I currently sit on a few boards, and it's interesting. It always fascinates me that, especially in the case of boards that are basically just very organically have grown from a need, they're all, the hearts are in the right place and everything, but when it comes to actually grant writing and submitting for grants, there is a lack of clarity sometimes, that it has to be very specific. The more specific it is, the more tangible it is to measure and quantify, the more likely you're going to get attention to be funded. And so I'm just putting that out there for anybody who's listening who may be thinking of starting a nonprofit. Those are things that you have to strategically figure out, and it's kind of hard when you don't have programs that speak to your success in doing something. But it still is important when you outline what that program is to really put those pieces into it, because a lot of cases I see with smaller nonprofits that are fledgling and starting, it's like, but we're here and we're doing good, and it's like, yes, and it's not trying to kind of poo-poo that, but there's a lot of people out there doing good, and so you got to figure out where your maximum impact is going to be.
There's so many people doing great things out there. When we go even through our grant process, some grants maybe have an opportunity to be more articulate in what the impact can be, or how many people is this going to support and
So
help.
do you help them in that
And we
process?
help them. So when we tell them that they maybe weren't chosen
nice.
as finalists, we say, please call us and we'll give you, feedback about maybe what you can try better on next year, because we want them to try again. So many of these organizations have tried, maybe a year or two, and they're taking our feedback and they're writing the grants differently, and then they win.
Well, you're
So-
you're providing them with almost
With
like
feedback.
free executive
We do.
feedback, right?
Yeah,
This
we
is how you
do.
get better.
And the organizations are so appreciative,
I'm
and
sure.
they're wonderful to work with. And again, as we have done this for 10 years, and we probably, review around 50 or so grants every year,
Yeah.
we have a lot of evolved expertise on how these become
So you
successful.
mentioned a couple of the larger ones. Just kind of going back to that question, can you mention a couple that maybe were just starting and
Right.
where that donation really made a difference in getting them kind of up and going?
Yeah, we had just one this past year, Samburu Project, which is a little focused on the water in other countries. And off the top of my head, I don't remember, but it was around that $15,000.
I think it was it Wells?
It was Wells,
Wells,
yeah.
to drill
and
and dig into
it
wells.
made a huge difference for them. Got a program that they wanted underway where maybe our grant was the only partner that funded this project. And if they didn't get our grant, they weren't going to be able to make this impact. There are even, I think we've talked a little bit about Bracken's Kitchen.
Bill
we've
Bracken.
seen
Shout out to Bill.
Bill Bracken. Yeah,
Bill's been on the show. Yeah.
We've seen them grow so much, and we've been blessed to be a part of their growth too, as they're bringing on, Betsy trucks and delivering more food.
Well,
to
and they just got
others.
recognized too. And I remember Bill when he came in. I think the first time he came in with a gentleman by the name of Steve Gostin, who actually Steve and I sit on the board for Project Independence, but Steve was involved with Bill as Bill was starting to set up a little bit more of a structured presence for Bracken's Kitchen.
Oh, great!
Because they had been operating literally kind of like bootstrapping it and like sort of in Santa
start.
Ana, and then he
Right.
realized people are coming to the kitchen, and in order to get to the kitchen to where he is, in order to be fed, they're spending all their money. So then it started becoming a mobile operation, and then next thing you know they got the space. But what was interesting. It's interesting. You're absolutely right. It was not that long ago.
It wasn't that
It was
long
like
ago.
in the last 5 years or less, right?
Right. We love watching it, and that's one of the benefits too about when we give these grants away. We not only give them the check that night, we are their partner for the next year. So as we communicate to our platform, we promote their events, we attend their events. We're excited with them and their success. And even with Bracken's Kitchen, we've supported them more than 1 year in a row.
Yeah.
Right? We've been able to give them grants throughout the years, and then we get to see them grow up as an organization, and we get to partner with them. We have many of our partners that are involved in these organizations now, as they just have fallen in love with them a little bit more. But we want to support them. We want to promote them. We want to be able to really view them as a partner for us. And we're a partner, and we are invested in their success. It's not just that one check.
So let's talk a little bit about this last year, you granted a bunch of money.
We did.
Can you talk about some of the recipients that were kind of exciting for you to see basically get money from Impact Giving?
Yeah. So I talked a little bit about the Samburu project. Sight Life was another one that the corneal, did I say that right? Corneal surgery, right? Does those. That was a brand new one to us. I had never even heard of them really before. And that's what's so fun about giving away some of these funds, is that you don't know. We also gave away the Warrior Foundation project, a home in San Diego, to help with building that out.
Yep.
So those are just a few. You'll see they're just super diverse, very different, and every year there are different new organizations that pop up.
And you're absolutely right. When I was looking at the website, it was very diverse, and it was interesting. Because you read the first one, it's like, okay, where's the next one? And then it's like they're all over the map. There's like a veterans, there's a water,
Totally all over the map.
right? Yeah, but which
Sometimes
was
they're kids, sometimes
which
they're
was
veterans,
good. I mean,
everything. Right.
for somebody who is motivated to be involved in a positive impact,
Right.
right? to have the ability to do that one year in a certain way and then the next year in a slightly maybe different way with some overlap, that keeps it also more engaging and exciting, because that's the other thing that I've found personally, and a lot of people have shared with me when it's involved with nonprofits, is sometimes the missions get stale.
They do. Well, you know what, too, is when you think about our goal as a community of philanthropic women is to be warm, welcoming, and inclusive.
Yeah.
And the definition of diversity and inclusion is to recognize that there's a lot of different people out there. So we want our women partners to look at our grant winners and see, oh, look at that organization. I have a passion around providing clean water, or I have a passion of feeding our children.
And there may be a thing that's more dire this year, that is in your immediate local surroundings, and then next year maybe that isn't. It's something else. So this allows you to actually be able to switch.
It does. Well, and what's interesting is that we don't control or limit the groups that get in the rankings or how they get voted on. It just naturally happens, and it tends to be about half and half between locally and globally. Different diversity, and that's not anything we're doing behind the scenes. It is just it's the reflection of the partner community we have and what is their passion for that year. And it changes every year because our needs as a county, as a humanity just changes. And so it's interesting to watch that evolve.
Well, and your defined parameters basically in giving is that you have X number of partners. This is how much money is there, and these are the sort of the range of the grants basically.
Right. More partners, more money.
More partners, more money.
We can provide more.
So
right.
with that being said, how can
Yes.
people find out more about how to get involved? Who can get involved? Okay.
Yes.
Can guys get involved? I'm going to ask the question because
we
might as
accept
well,
money from men with no problem there, but
we don't get a vote.
But you don't get a vote. But you are more than welcome to support us.
Let's give the website, Jennifer.
Yes, so impactgivingnow.org is our website. All that information is on there. All the information about all the organizations we've supported over the last 10 years. A lot about who we are, some of our events that are coming up. You can sign up to be on our newsletter and just hear a little bit more. We're on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow us there too. To be a partner, you do have to be a woman to have a vote, to go through that partnership process. And at any age, or any background, any economic level, it's like I said, for the full partnership, $105 a month. For the junior partnership, $65 a month, and that's it.
And you mentioned this to me, that the voting is limited to, you have to be a woman partner to be involved, but on that level. But you do have men that are or that actually support the organization as well.
Absolutely,
right? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we take donations from all. We have men providing donations that want to really support us. Maybe they're related to women partners in the organization. Sure. We have businesses that want to be a part of what we're doing and really value how we're educating, engaging, and empower women in these communities. We have so many businesses that want to be a part of that too, and we welcome and really love that type of a support too.
So you just, in the case of businesses being a partner, the go-to basically in that business would be a woman to be involved.
Well, businesses can just support us. So we have a couple events where we have sponsorship opportunities, and we have businesses that support us financially. And many times, yes, the women employees in those businesses tend to join as partners as well.
The reason I kind of asked that question that way is because in a lot of corporate environments these days, there is sort of this sort of social consciousness and social responsibility component.
Right.
And there's also usually, I mean, it again, was not that long ago that there was not a role specifically outlining, looking for volunteer opportunities for employees in a corporate environment to assign them to a day of giving here and there. And now there is, actually.
And now there is. And it's wonderful to see that shift. I think in corporations, small, medium, large across our country has been really more socially conscious about those. Absolutely. We have organizations that sponsor, in a way, their employees to be part of us.
Right.
And that is great for the organization because the women partner learns so much through our process, has a sense of community with so many other like-hearted women, and can bring that back to the business. And it, as we all know, is the healthy, happy employees focused on the right thing result in great business.
Absolutely. We go back to that thing about those are literally the ambassadors for
The
whatever
ambassadors,
business
absolutely.
and whatever industry you may be in.
And that's the same thing. So if you go on the website with impactgivingnow.org, there's a place to contact us, whether you're interested as a woman partner, interested to support us in any way, interested as a business to figure out how can I get more involved, how can I get my employees more involved. Reach out through that contact us form and it'll get to us and we'll connect.
Okay, I want to just shift the conversation just slightly. You had said to me, and I'm going back on that meeting and time commitment. Okay, you said to me that it's almost like not even in person in a physical location. That it's
The grant committees.
the grant committees, right?
Yeah, the grant committees. So sitting on that grant committee
Yeah.
and being able to meet with other women partners and vet through the organizations, that was 2 to 3 in-person meetings. And that was it. At that time, when it was 9 years ago, that worked out great for me. And then as kids have gotten a little older, and now been on the board for about 4 or 5 years now, and I'm getting more and more involved. We have opportunities a lot more frequently for those who want to show up for a coffee on a Saturday. Every month we have a coffee. Or we might have a wine night, or we might have a book club, or we have all these different ways for women to meet each other and be a little bit more connected.
So you still did do the work of the organization, but the formality of it is loose and flexible.
Of course, you can say all I can do is that 2 meetings a year and be part of that. You can say, this year, I may not have the time to sit on a committee, but I just want to financially support and be a partner and vote. Or you can say, I'm going to show up every month at your coffee. I'm going to be part of your book club. I'm going to get as involved as you can. And really, we welcome all different levels of involvement.
So I have a lot of people, just because of the way that my life has unfolded, I have a lot of people that may not be local.
Right.
That are women that are in their own right established and maybe listen to this and say, well, how do I get involved? So I guess the question is, if somebody is not local, can they still get involved?
Absolutely.
Okay, and would that be as a full partner, for example? They could do that?
They can.
Okay.
They can.
So
The full
physicality is not
partner-
an issue.
No.
So
The full
physical
partnership
location,
means
yeah.
that you, as long as you can find a computer and log into your link, you can vote. You can read all the organizations that were finalists. You can vote. We have a lot of partners who, through the last 10 years, have moved away, and they stay with us. And so they can hear through our newsletter, through our social media, through everything. They can hear the stories of the lives that we're impacting, and they want to be that. They want to still be connected to us, even though they're not physically here. But we do have, for those who are physically here, we do have those in-person events where absolutely we can connect.
Well, I told people that Impact Giving does the giving with a twist, and that was one of the things that I wanted to bring out, because that really, not only is it that somebody may be not local, but the fact that you also are, in that case, they would be able to champion something that is international versus just local as a recipient. That just makes it also another layer of meaningful for them. So it's not that I'm just supporting the organization because it does good work locally, but I might actually be not local, and there may be somebody in my area that I want to bring to the attention of Impact Giving that could also then benefit as a recipient.
Right. And think,
More
so
incentive to be involved.
Right. So when I first joined, I think in my first year, I supported Orange County Child Abuse Prevention Center. And within that first year, my couple months of paying $105, it turned into $25,000 for the organization that I was involved in. Whether that's local, whether it's international, there is that possibility that it can.
So for
grow.
people that are actually involved in other organizations, this may be another way for them to give to those organizations.
We do, and we have many women partners that are extremely committed or involved in a particular organization, and they are part of our organization, Impact Giving, because they want to champion for their nonprofit. Absolutely, we have those.
Well, providing that resource and the way that you're providing it also makes organizations that are out there that may be wanting to tap into that as a funding source better.
Absolutely.
Like, you got to bring up your game to a certain point.
Yes.
Right? And whether it's...
And we'll help you.
And
We'll help you bring up your game.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right, because a lot of times
We'll
it's
work
like,
with
no,
you.
thank you, try again next year. But to give somebody that input of why and how it could have been better, I mean, that's invaluable in the nonprofit world.
And we have seen it work, right? We've seen some applications come in, and we've seen them take our feedback and grow. And down the road, that they do.
And here they are being funded basically later.
And here they are being funded later. And then, like I said, not only do we give the check and give them the money, but we are partners with them. We want them to be successful. We support them in many other ways and promote them on our platforms and everything as well.
So, what are some challenges that you guys deal with? Are there any regular challenges that you've been involved for the majority of the time that the organization's been around?
I have.
Are there things that are continuously a bit of a challenge? Are there things that are more challenging now that, can you be, I mean, we're talking all positive here, which is great.
Right.
But what are some of the challenges that you guys do, if there are any?
There's always challenges in anything, but I think that's what makes
opportunities,
it
right? Depending on how you look at it.
It's what makes it rewarding, right? At the end of the day. So through the last 10 years, we've been able to really refine every year. What did we learn differently? How do we want to run this process more efficiently? How do we make our event more successful? So we're in a state, and the board, my board is a group of wonderful ladies and very diverse backgrounds and contribute very different things. And we are always looking at how can we listen to our partners and evolve our organization to be more reflective of what everyone wants. It's interesting because just people change over time, things shift, and you do have to look at it to where we recently did a book club. We recently started doing a little bit more coffees because the
More of
a social, because how it started, that wasn't really needed. And then we heard people wanted to connect more. So it's funny because you think about how the consumer world has shifted. Everyone did this huge pendulum where everyone went totally digital. No one wants to speak. No one wants to connect. They just only want to do digital. And then it kind of goes in the middle now where they still want digital and ease, but they want some connection and a
that
sense
human
of community.
condition, that
it always
sense of
comes
needing,
back, So I would say is how we've looked at our organization is no different than how any other company has looked at it too, is listening to our partners, listening what they want and how they want to interact with each other. So one of our opportunities is, how do you swing that pendulum and how do you provide enough interaction in that way?
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Uh-oh. Okay.
It's not a bad spot. Pick two successes
Okay.
that you really like when you think about impact giving, and like you're going to share something that just like had a really meaningful impact for you or an experience, right? You've been around like for the majority of the time that they've been this organization.
You're making me feel old.
No. It's actually very, very admirable for an organization to have that kind of impact and continuously grow over a period of a decade. I mean, it's huge celebration for that, right?
It is huge.
But especially in a nonprofit situation. Share with me a couple of things that really just kind of like a real warm and fuzzy for you. Like you go, yes, this was so great that and they can be smaller, meaningful for you is what I'm looking for.
Meaningful for me, and there's been a lot through the years. About a little over a year now, maybe almost two, is we hit a milestone and we gave away our millionth dollar. And I would say that was
That's pretty good.
A good feeling. That was a good day because we had, from where we started and just being able to survive as a nonprofit and be able to
It's not a small thing.
keep the engagement of our partners and to be able to say we gave away $1 million that would have not have been given away
That's a huge
otherwise.
milestone, absolutely.
So that was, such a huge milestone that I look back on and just smile. That was nice.
Well, and
I'll take that one.
and to have the wide swaths of people that are impacted by that $1 million. Like you touched a lot
Tens
of
and
different.
thousands.
Yeah, exactly.
Tens and thousands of lives were impacted through that $1 million.
Okay.
So I would say that was a big one for me. What I would say for me too, another one that was really impactful is when I look at our leadership in impact giving today. When I look at, it's been a journey. So I've been board chair for the last 4 years, and we've been a journey of building out how do we be sustainable and how we operate as an organization internally, and to just see the maturity and the passion and the support that the board and our committee chairs and everyone is I like to, that for me, again, like what's important, what some great things that I've observed is be able to look and just everyone is so passionate about just helping this world to be better for our families and our children, and such a great group of leaders and diverse leaders and just strong women. I just love being around a lot of strong women.
I read something yesterday, and it's common when you say, and when you tell your kids, leave things better than you found them.
Yeah.
I read something the other day, and it was a story about this gentleman who's an actor. I think he's been on a number of things, but he is like 31 years old, and the story was about how he invited a neighbor of his that was in her 80s or 70s to move in with him as a roommate. And it was a really touching story. I have a soft spot for seniors, but it was a very touching story because here was like somebody that wasn't even related. But there was literally just a roommate situation, and then how there was this thing about where like they would sit around, like eat popcorn, drink champagne, watch movies or something like that. It was like really kind of cool, right?
That sounds like fun.
Right, but so of course, what did I do? In the age of technology, I went on to Instagram and I looked for the guy,
of course,
right, to see what.
Don't we all?
And I like followed him, right? And he has on his Instagram, which really touched me because it kind of builds off that same thing that's like almost like generic. Like, yeah, you leave it better than you find it. He said on there, it says, leave somebody better than you find them.
Yes.
And it was just a slight shift, but so much more meaningful, like it like so personal, right? It's not an inanimate object thing that you leave better. It's not leave the world better. It's actually a human.
Yeah. Well, it's that quote from Maya Angelou too, right? Is they won't remember what you said, they won't remember what you did, but everyone remembers how you made them feel.
Exactly.
And that is when you think about being inclusive and welcoming and supportive of everyone around you, is that's how you make people feel.
Well, we had people from Project Independence in the studio on Wednesday, and we were talking about just the reward that you get
right
from being involved in volunteering in whatever capacity it is, and that is a different kind of reward. Like there's no money amount that really equates to that. Feeds a different part of your soul. And if you're lucky enough to actually experience that, it becomes almost addictive. Like you want to continue to be in that space, right?
It does.
Yeah. So that's great. Thank you for sharing those. It's awesome. And by the way, like a milestone of $1 million given away, and then having the ability to say that the organization has matured and continued to be passionate.
Sustainable. It'll be around for another couple more decades, forever and ever.
but also continue to be passionate about the mission. I mean, that's amazing, right?
Yes.
You're not just getting older; you're getting more mature and seasoned, better, and still not having lost that little spark of being, passion, involvement. What are some of the things that maybe are goals? Like now that you're where you're at, what's next year look like?
Right. One of our biggest areas of focus now, because we really have the passion, we have the leadership, we have the different partnership opportunities, we have a good product.
Yeah.
Right. We've hit our milestones. We've hit the first 10 years. We're going to be around for a long time now. We want to be able to get our story out there, be able to have more partners be involved, be able to educate, empower, and engage more women. That is our area of focus in this next year, is to how do we do that? We have, like I said, I'm a little biased, but I just think this is just such an amazing organization, amazing community, and we don't need it to be a secret anymore. We want more.
Well,
to
you have
involved.
a lot of story to tell.
We have a great story to tell,
and to tell it the right way, based on your own terms. I mean, right? Tell your own story.
So that is our growth is our focus.
So what advice do you give to nonprofits who find themselves in that place? Like how are you guys going about doing that? Because that's a very important lesson. I agree with you 100%.
Right. You have to be ready for growth. So that's the first step, is that we really had to make sure that we were ready to grow. Really making sure we have the partnerships clarified. We offered up the junior partnership. We just offered in the last 2 years. So we really have this strong product in our mind and this sense of community. And now that we're ready for growth, is we're finding opportunities, just like sitting here and talking with you today, is how can we just share more of what we're doing, and hoping that one of your listeners, this is resonating with them. Right. They can go on our website. They can reach out to us. We can make a connection. ImpactGivingNow.org.
ImpactGivingNow.org. I can't vote, but I insist that you go ahead and give them money and get involved. It's very interesting about that last point, because you are totally comfortable. I mean, you could say that we're totally comfortable in this space. We've been doing this thing for 10 years. We've had a really wide
Right.
impact. We feel great. And I could just sit on my laurels and do the same thing for the next 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Or
Or
I'm
you
ready to
can
grow.
We're
but-
ready to grow.
And it's kind of scary, but at the same time, it's also exciting, right?
It's also exciting
Yeah.
because here's the thing too, is that we do this space well.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that those partners who join us, what they're going to get out of it is tenfold what they put into it. And so we just want to share that with as many women as possible, because it is life-changing. Because when you walk out of this, I can speak for myself, is I talk about giving and philanthropy different to my friends, to my kids, to my family, to my coworkers, and that's exponential. So it's not just one person
Right.
being feeling comfortable about being a philanthropist, because you don't have to give away millions of dollars a year to be a philanthropist.
No, obviously,
you can
the
give
way-
away
yeah,
$105 a month and call
and-
yourself
and
a
still-
philanthropist
and still have an impact of
and still have a wonderful
$1 million
impact.
in 10 years.
Right. But because I've been part of this organization, I have a passion now about giving and philanthropy that it leaks everywhere across anyone who's around me. And that's that exponential piece.
Well, you know, that continually interested in challenging yourselves and growing also does one other thing. That excitement is contagious. So I think when you
is.
bring in people and when you're telling about your involvement with impact giving to others, and at the end of the day, we all know that are involved in this space, is that the people that get engaged are getting engaged into things that people that they know are involved in and they
Right.
share passionately about.
Yes.
Because that's sort of the trust building block, right? It's like,
It is.
oh, I've heard about this organization, I've heard of this organization, but no, so and so that I was sitting down with for Thanksgiving dinner was telling me about this thing, and I really got connected with it, and I saw the joy in their eyes of being involved in it, and I want part of that too.
Right.
Right. So taking the organization to the next challenge of growing and doing it and being excited about it also in itself is contagious.
It is, and it's all word of mouth in a lot of ways up until now. You know, one of my board members who's now been with us for over 6 years, Lynette Miller, we worked together, and I was just talking about impact giving, and she was like, "Oh, that sounds really interesting. I love giving," and now all these years pass by, and she's on my board, and she's doing a great job and very involved. So it's getting the word out. It's a wonderful story. It's a great thing to be a part of. You talk about that part of your heart that gets a different type of reward when you're involved in something like this.
Yeah, it's definitely a warm and fuzzy.
Yes.
Well, thanks for being here and sharing your story.
Absolutely. Thank you
And-
for
and-
having me.
And sharing impact giving.
Yes.
Let's, before we sign off, give people the website again.
ImpactGivingNow.org.
So go check it out, everybody. And Jennifer, again, thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Have a happy holidays, everybody.
Happy
We'll see you again next
holidays.
Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Rad Life radio show with your host and age explorer, Rad Gontos, brought to you on the one and only octalkradio.net. Join us again next week as we continue our journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older.